Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Monday, August 4th meeting of the Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board. Delise is not able to join us this evening, but we have a quorum. The posted meeting agenda, we will be adding to that at the very end of the meeting a quick discussion and update on wildflower and what the next steps are there. That is the only change to the agenda other than what was posted. You have Jim's meeting notes. Have you all had a chance to take a look at them? Any comments? If none, I'll hear a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. You have in draft form the July 21st minutes. Any corrections, additions? May I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
A motion, second please.
Second.
I have many seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. The only bit of correspondence I would bring to your attention is you probably received some time ago notice that coming up on September 25th there is a I'll call it an all-day workshop sponsored by the New York Planning Federation that's taking place at the Wallace Center. They periodically do these 4.5-hour things and include lunch. There's money in the planning board budget. Should any of you wish to attend, you get your 4.5 hours of training. And I did go several years ago, and they're filled with lots of updates in terms of what's going on. So if any of you need that, Gretchen's going to look into how you could register if any of you wanted to do it. If you've got the time and you need to get your hours, it's a pretty good way to capture it in one easy swoop, and it's close by and easily accessible with good parking. So
Where is it?
down in Hyde Park, the Roosevelt Home, the Wallace Center is there, and they have some meeting rooms, and they bring down people from the Planning Federation. If you can, Gretchen sent out we got it through. I'll resend it because I found it, so you can look at it. I don't know that they've yet posted what all the sessions are, but as I said, it's generally speaking a pretty good training. Okay, so we have 3 new applications to consider this evening. The first new application is that John Hetherington, 224 Salisbury Turnpike, site plan and special use permit for a solar installation. Who is here to? All right, well, we can move on, and we'll circle back and see if Mr. Hetherington or his representative comes. The next new application is that of Gloria Ganrosny, 67 to 69 Grinnell Street, site plan, special use permit, wetlands permit, the demolition of an existing trailer, and the construction of an addition. Good evening.
Am I doing microphone?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
And there's a pointer here. That's the second button here.
Okay, I promise not to blind you.
Okay.
So, my name is David Freeman. I am here with Mike Paracord. I am the architect for the project. He is the contractor for the project. I'd like to, so if we can get down to the second sheet to start. I just kind of want to talk about the house first, and then we'll come back to the site, because I think that'll be a little more of the adventure here. So, we have an existing home that is here, 1.5-story home, faces onto the street. Our proposal is to add a 28-foot wide by 28-foot addition to the left-hand side. Keeps in the style of the home where you're underneath the existing roof plane. We've stepped back, or I've stepped back the middle section, so it's very much, there's the center house, there is the step down, and then back to what's going to become our primary bedroom suite. So that's the quickie version of walking through the house. If you can go back to sheet 1. So this is actually 2 lots, and we have started the process to combine them. Yep. So there is, so just kind of the history of this lot. We are on, this is the southern lot, contains the house that's there. The northern lot currently contains the travel trailer and a garage shown mid-60s or so. It's a road frontage garage. It is right on the road, has a flat roof, both of which we plan to remove. So that is part of the process. And then, as I said, we are in the process of combining the current lots. Okay. Some of the challenge with this, obviously, we do have a pond that sits in the back of our property. So we certainly have the paperwork into New York State DEC to see if it's within their purview or yours. The woman who is in charge of our area is currently on leave, so I've talked to her replacement. Sometime in the future, they will get to it. The determination of it's within theirs or yours. There is no number on it, so it's not a registered wetland as far as I can easily tell. Right? So just kind of to the typical questions, and then I'll shorten my speech here. So the typical questions, is the house within the fitting of the neighborhood? Better than the mobile home that's there, right? So the addition varied. I'm sorry to make that joke, I've been waiting a long time for that. The original owner of the mobile home actually had gone through and hired Duquette Engineering, so there is a brand new septic system on file, not constructed, that would allow them to keep that mobile home on the lot. We do not intend to do that. The septic system was never built, and our proposal is to remove it and abate it. There are lots of notes on the site plan, obviously, about that. There is an oil tank that's above grade. There is a holding septic tank. There is a cesspool septic tank. It will be an adventure to get it out of there. And again, there are lots of notes for that. We are also removing the front garage. So very much what we are proposing is much more in keeping with the neighborhood, the value of the homes that are there than what is currently there. The other question in my mind is what we are proposing going to block the view of any back neighbors. So if you want to go back to sheet one, I'll just kind of walk through that. Right, if you want to go up to the top area here. So this is our lot. The pond is actually right in back of it, and there is still a right-of-way for two town roads. Right, so this is our lot. The pond goes between our lot and the lot immediately in back of it, so it's an unbuildable section. There is a right-of-way for a road that's here, a right-of-way for a road that's here, and then the road goes up there. So the nearest we can say there would be a house that could be constructed behind it would be up here, and that elevation is about 100 feet higher than ours. So technically, as long as we stay with a nice little one-story addition, we're not blocking the view. Right, so I think, again, what we're proposing as far as the neighborhood, as far as it coming into the neighborhood, much better value. I'll stop making the mobile home jokes. And then the last one, and Mike may want to just talk about that, is of course bedrooms. Right, so your building inspector at Rhinebeck has been out there, walked through the current home with Mike Paracord. It's on the tax files as a 3-bedroom. It's in the building department as a 3-bedroom. I think we both understand kind of where that came from and how it's kind of morphed to where we are today. We are maintaining the 3 bedrooms. So we're not changing, we're not increasing the use as far as the number of bedrooms. And with that, short presentation.
So I took a look at, obviously took a look at this, had a couple comments and questions. So the first one just related to the jurisdictional determination. As we all know, on January 1st, the DEC came out with new rules regarding wetlands. They aren't entirely 100% clear on exactly what we have to do. So essentially, because they're looking at anything that is a DEC regulated wetland, we don't necessarily know what is. We only have guidance as to what they may be based on old maps. But they're also going to be vernal pools and other things like that. Anything within 800 feet of water, we're referring to the DEC to make sure that you get what you need, because you don't want to be run foul of the DEC regs. So they have up to 90 days to make a decision. At that point, you can submit a written letter to them in writing to the DEC office, and they have 10 days to respond. So technically 101 days if you don't hear from them before they go through that process. So that's why we did that. We've been doing that with all applicants since January 1st. You had a note indicating the house will have a crawl space under the addition. And wanted to just know, back to that sheet, just curious, so you're gonna have the crawl space, what's proposed to happen with the soil that comes out of there? Are you planning on using it to regrade or anything else? I looked at the topo lines, it looked like these are essentially the existing topo lines.
We have fill for the garage, so that's gonna take some, right, so the garage is there, concrete slab, concrete block, the concrete block's gonna be removed, the roof from 1960 is gonna be removed. I think a lot of it's, I can provide the math for it, my sense is that most of it's going to go into there. And I think there's a note there to compact it in lips.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I figured, but the one thing we don't want to see is new grading on the site.
No.
It wasn't proposed on the plans.
Okay.
We've had some issues in the past, we want to make sure we don't do that
Yeah.
on this. So if you think it's close, and I kind of figured that's where it was going, then I think we're fine, as long as we're looking at essentially grading it out, right, when you take that stuff out, regrading that, and then obviously filling in the hole in the front to be equal with the grade, just like you did put in the plans, I think we're fine. But just want to make a note of that,
Okay.
we should not see any additional grading on the site. I think that was about it. Otherwise, it's really related to, consistency with the character in the block. And the only other question I had is any landscaping or lighting. I don't know.
It's on the second. So really, it was just minor lighting by the front door. There is no other plan to do any landscape lighting.
No other landscaping or lighting, just this one you're showing.
No, as far as planting, back on the site plan, there's to extend the sidewalk to the front. So there is an existing sidewalk here. We'll be redoing that to extend it to the front. That really hasn't been determined yet. As far as landscaping, no, there's none that I know of that's planned.
So just to be clear, the sidewalk hasn't been determined, or the any plantings?
Sidewalk.
Okay, that has to be.
Yeah,
determined.
that'll be.
Yeah, so when we go into the public hearing, just make sure we know what that is, because what's shown on the plans is, so we get this approved, what's gonna have to be put on.
Mhm.
Well, that's it. Just a couple clarifications.
Planning board members, questions, comments?
Could we see the floor plan again? Could you expand? The question I have is, you said it has always been considered a three-bedroom.
Right.
Was it indeed a three-bedroom before the addition of this bedroom?
So it's an existing 3-bedroom now?
Yeah.
Yes. So how we get there, how they got there, I could let Mike talk to that because the building inspector was out with him. The living room that's there, I don't know if I included in the existing site plan, the living room that's there right now acts as a bedroom because it has closets in it. Those are being removed. You can kind of get a sense of the dining room space, and again, I can include an existing plan on the next set if you would like. The dining room space was most likely used as a sleeping room. I've just labeled them what we're going to be using them as.
Jim, can you make it even a little bigger so we can understand more fully? So where's the front door on that?
So there's actually front porch, it's enclosed front porch, the entry door is here. The previous owner, there was some sort of a door system across there. I believe they used that as a bedroom. There was definitely this, and again, there was originally, you can kind of see it there, I've gotten rid of most of it. There was originally a closet here, and a full closet here, that left their, what we're calling living room as a bedroom. At some time, the attic may have been used as a bedroom. It's not really a legal space.
So right now, you come into the entry and then there's a wall on both sides
Yes.
of you.
And there's no plan to remove them.
And where's the kitchen?
Kitchen's in the back. So there is an existing deck. We are not doing anything with that. There's an existing small back porch.
So there's a lot, you go from the kitchen to the dining room, it's
Uh-huh.
quite a jogging walk.
Uh-huh.
That's great.
Yeah. I don't do old plans.
Okay, so then I see that you will have 3 official bedrooms and an actual living room. What are those lines across the living room?
The plan is to vault the ceiling.
I see.
plan is to do this with tray, so a taller ceiling in there in the center. If it helps the board, I can remove them.
And the bathrooms, the master bedroom has a bath, and then there's
A
a
hall
back
bath.
bath.
No, there's a hall bathroom here, and there's a hall bath. This is really attached to this bedroom. This is more what will be used by guests, you know, if you're there for the day.
Okay.
Okay.
The entrance to the dining room, is that like a 3-foot wide doorway,
Yeah.
but it's not framed out or anything,
No.
doesn't have a door on it?
No, not now.
And then you would pass through, there is an opening into the hallway that goes to the new addition. So that would kind of be less useful as a sleeping space because
Right.
people would have to traipse through there.
Yeah, it's not going to be enclosed.
Okay.
So it doesn't be,
And that's the only way of communicating with those bedrooms on the, what is it, the north?
Yes.
The north end there. Is there a secondary means of entrance to the addition? Or
No.
just through,
no. So this is my primary egress, and then my secondary egress will be the windows, my vestibule.
okay, but there's no like doorway, porch or anything like that where it would be like a mother-daughter kind of thing?
Airbnb, no.
Right. You said there was a existing garage?
There is, if you want to go back to the site plan, or if you want to go to the third sheet, which is the survey, I don't know if that got loaded or not.
I think it's
So there is an existing, what we will call a garage here. It is, there's a garage door in the front, 8-foot tall walls, and literally I can step onto the flat roofs in the back because it's that great.
okay. And that's gonna remain?
No,
And that's
there's notes on here to have the roof.
Okay, but you are gonna construct a garage?
No,
Or
no, there's an existing garage underneath.
I see, you're gonna fill the space where the garage was
Right.
with what you take up, that's what had me confused. Okay, got it.
So there is an existing garage underneath the home. That's,
Okay, so that'll all just get restored to grade?
Yeah.
Got it.
Again, I think that's gonna heat up all of our soil.
So this is the trailer in the back that will be removed. Increases.
Yeah, we have very careful language about how we're taking that out there, so we don't reel it down the road.
Recycle it.
The septic tank is underneath it. Quite something.
But it has two separate septic, or it's laid out for a separate septic system?
So 67, so like I said, the dividing line is here, 67, which is this, has its own septic, and our house has its own septic. So, and the original owner of the trailer parcel, I have never seen Board of Health accept this type of system before. We kept it a really good job. So. But they didn't build it.
Okay, but that's all gonna get abandoned, it's gonna be one single system for a 3-bedroom,
That's it.
size to current PCWA.
We actually have our paperwork back from Stanley, they are combining lots.
Okay.
Siding of the new addition is gonna match the existing house?
Yes.
Okay.
So for the most part, the windows match the style of the existing house.
Is that noted anywhere?
It can.
We will need it, I think, 'cause
It may,
it's pretty strict in that area. And then, is there an opportunity to have a larger opening to that dining room?
if you'd like to talk to the owner, sure. We
Well,
can do
I'm
that,
talking
yeah.
to you, so-
Yeah, I mean, I personally would. I can ask the owner if we can increase
Yeah.
it to make more sense.
I think that'd make it less of an opportunity for like a bedroom.
Yep.
And then the stone walls that come out below that garage area, they stay?
Yeah, they define kind of the
Yeah,
house garage,
yeah.
right? They very much define that.
Yeah, they were actually done nicely.
Yeah, that's what I was like, that'd be the next feature different.
Yeah.
Those are the questions I have.
And actually, we're gonna, not that it concerns the board per se, but I mean, anything Bob Rhinebeck does, but we're gonna upgrade the water line coming to some galvanized line, so we can coordinate that with the water department for the fall. It's gonna come north of the wall and come in the north side of the house before the addition. Well, we try to do this whole shot, just to
Yeah.
make sense what we're doing in construction, is do all this Rudimentary, we patchwork both of it for now with the water department, but as I say, it's, because it was already leaking, so as I say, we dealt with it now.
Yeah.
For the short haul, but in the long term.
And what is the siding that's on there? Is it aluminum or?
It's cedar.
Except for the right-hand edition is aluminum. It's like the 70s edition, that she wants to go on so bad. Get it going.
The metal rail go on.
And the windows don't even match. You know, as I say, David's got a much better window detail for the new look, as I say,
Right.
so, yeah.
Okay, and you said the rest is cedar?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Anyone else?
I guess, Dave, the only other thing really is the overhead door, is that too, they want to put the second door.
Yeah, so the original, the last owner,
Sims.
we don't have, so there's currently one garage door, they simply, let us say without a permit, enclosed this, put on a door and a window, that's going to be removed, made it back into a two-car garage. We're doing a lot of work now to fireproof that, right, so there's no sheetrock ceiling, there's no fire enclosure between the garage and the house above it right now, that's being taken care of now.
So are we going to see a door that looks like that one to the right of the current?
You'll see a better one, it's on the drawing.
Uh-huh. Are you changing the one that's there?
Yeah, so it'll be,
I
it'll
see.
be a bump.
It looks like you have stone in between.
It's proposed.
These are much larger windows than what's in the photograph, is that?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're changing that aspect of the window aperture.
They tend to match the porch, or they match the porch more, so these are just large open windows on the entry porch.
Okay, and they come down to a height of, what, about 20 inches? Or
Yep.
they don't go all the way down?
No.
Those look like they come all the way down to the floor level.
Yes. The bedroom ones don't, usually a little bit.
Okay, because those are spandrel, or, yeah, spandrels in the ones on the right-hand side? So that's the existing, kind of keep that same
ID.
height.
Anyone else? Jen, I think you have a draft procedural resolution?
Draft procedure resolution for the board's consideration tonight. For the application by Gloria Gamrazzi for site plan, special use permit, and wetlands permit under Town Code Chapter 125, Section 12572 and 12565, and Town Code Chapter 120, respectively, for construction of an addition to an existing home, demolition of an existing trailer garage at 67 to 69 Grinnell Street, within the RCH and RCO overlay. Accepting the application supporting documents is adequate for initiating review by the planning board. Classifying the action as type 2 under seeker, for which coordinated environmental quality review is not required. We will send this to the CAB, the WAC, and APAC for review, as well as Dutchess County. We will schedule a public hearing for September 2nd, Tuesday. And we need 2 planning board members to the site.
Let's go.
I'll go.
Okay. I'll go. Sharon. All right, I have a motion to accept the draft procedural resolution.
So moved.
Motion second.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion
Very
carries. Craig and Sharon will be in touch with you to schedule sites.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Very good.
Have a good night.
Excuse me, the third new application for this, let me double check again. Is anyone here for Mr. Hetherington? Oh. I'm so sorry that I'm late. Whoa.
You can just hit the microphone. Have that. There you go.
Sorry.
And here's a pointer. If you want a pointer. It's the second button down. You have to hold it. There you go.
Oh, beautiful.
Sure.
So my name is Shannon Levy from Empire State Solar Solutions. I'm just going to read the proposal, if that's okay. So we're proposing the installation of 2 residential ground mount solar PV systems. The total system size is going to be 14.72 kilowatts, consisting of 32 REC panels, each rated at 460 watts. The structure is to be installed on the rear yard property, covering a total area of 725.31 square feet. We're confident that the system size will not only provide a significant amount of energy, but is also in the most optimal location for the homeowner and the solar production. So basically, as I just said, there's going to be 2 ground mounts consisting of 16 panels each, which are located right here. And then we show like the trench line where the meter plant is and then the septic location.
So, as everyone knows, I put my pre-con notes in each of the memos just so you're aware of what we discussed previously. And based on the pre-con, I think most of those questions and issues have been addressed. Originally, the trench was going in a much different direction. It ended up bringing us within a 100-foot buffer of the wetland which runs along the road up at the top here. But by moving that line now so that it attaches to the house here, the 100-foot buffer ends somewhere out around here. And this is right up against the edge of the house, so I don't believe we're talking about a wetlands permit at this time, or need to do a DEC jurisdictional determination, because we are outside of that 100-foot distance. I think enough that we can be confident we're outside the 100 feet. So that trench has been modified, so landscaping has been added, because as we discussed during the pre-con, the main issue I think is related to visibility from adjacent properties in Salisbury Turnpike. I think the biggest one being visibility to the property and house over here. This is an undeveloped lot that's all wooded at the moment. And then obviously you've got 200 and it's 15 or 30 feet, I think it's 15 feet
15, yeah.
to the road, which is a decent distance, and it is behind the house. But it is kind of up on a hill. You can see it a little bit. I can bring up Google if you wanted to. But I think the site visit will help with the discussion of landscaping. We'd asked for some clarifications on labels and things. I think all that is fine. So the only real item that remains from my perspective would just be discussion of visibility from the road and neighbors. That's it.
Okay, planning board members, questions, comments? Nothing at this time? All right, Jim, draft procedural resolution?
So the draft procedure resolution for the board's consideration, asking you to act on the application by John Hetherington for site plan special use permit under Town Code Chapter 125 for ground mounted solar at 224 Salisbury Turnpike within the RC5 zoning district. Accepting the application documents is adequate for initiating further review. Classifying the action as unlisted, for which coordinated environmental quality review is not required. Schedule the public hearing for September 2nd at 6:05 p.m. We'll send it to the CAB for review. So it does not go to, does not go to HAPAC or the WAC, so we'll take those out. It's going to the CAB, it's going to Dutchess County for review, and we need 2 planning board members to do the site visit.
You'd like to go?
Okay.
You'd like to go, Sean?
Oh, really?
Okay, that's, may I have a motion to accept the draft procedural resolution? So moved. Motion, second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. I'll be in touch with you to schedule a time for the site visit.
Okay, beautiful. And then, I'm sorry, you just said for the public hearing that it would be September 2nd?
Because of the holiday, the meeting is scheduled for Tuesday instead of a Monday.
Okay, that's fine. Perfect. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much. The third new application for this evening is that of Dove's Nest, 102 Southlands Road, site plan and special use permit.
My name is Craig Hightower with New Energy Project Management. I'm the lead project developer on the solar project. 88 rounded up kilowatts, ground mount intended for
Sure. Second button down.
it's a big array, but all intended for on-site consumption. In fact not quite covering the annual consumption need of that service meter. The location also in zoning at the same time as well, we need some variances, but special use permit for the array in this location, and the reason why it's in this location is for the visibility factor and the availability to interconnect to the utility service that feeds that property. So this is an interesting one, and where the service meter, so here's the property line here, and this is the neighboring parcel. The utility meter is way down here on the other parcel. And there's a utility easement that comes, so bring the utility meters down here. There's overhead wires that come down here on this side of the property line, on the south side of the property line. And then connects to a customer-owned utility pole about here, and then the power goes underground and comes way up here to the primary residences on this parcel. So we've got to do two things: try to minimize the visual impact of the system, which we've done in this location because of natural screening on the south line here. This is all just natural tree and brush cover that's filled in pretty much completely to the south. There's been new screening. These are black willows that have been installed. So between the two, it really minimizes the view from anywhere over here. And that's partially because the topography drops in this little corner of the parcel. We have a low spot down here. Moving this array further up into this field only elevates it, and then the view, the vantage point just becomes wider and less likely to narrow out the screen without a long row of trees. So that the visual part is, taking advantage of this corner, the natural screening that's already there, and the ability to minimize installed screening to make it be as natural and aesthetically pleasing as possible. But also, we need to do an interconnection at this pole to avoid any type of trenching or destruction on coming into the property down here. So the trench would follow from these arrays on the owner's parcel over to this utility pole where it can join the power before it goes underground, which is a key factor, and then that power will feed and service the residences over here. That's pretty much it. Ready to take questions? Yeah. I'm sure you.
So, board probably remembers it was recent, we did a referral to the ZBA at the July 7th, 2025 meeting, saying that the board did have some concerns related to the variances being requested, asking why the location was so close to the property line, and, understanding the utility lines there and everything that we just heard. So I just do refer you back to those comments. In terms of my review, originally, a while ago we talked about the interconnect being on the other parcel. That's not the case anymore, so there's no issue.
Yeah, we changed that. Yeah.
No issue of connecting on the adjacent parcel. I noted in my memo that the black willow may not be the best treated plant, but it sounds like they're already in.
They're already in, and
So-
the owners are also willing to, do any type of screening that makes it more natural, more effective, but we want to make it disappear.
So I'm not a landscape architect, but black willow can spread very quickly, and almost always invasive based on some research I did. So if we're looking for additional trees, the board might want to think about something other than black willow. Plus, it's always good to have a diverse set of trees in there in case something happens, you don't lose them all due to infestation or something. Those are really my only comments. Again, we haven't talked about this before, but I did want to know, I did look at this up. Are the panels under 2,000 square feet in total area? Is that a requirement?
If we can zoom in, I don't remember what the exact number, it was like 38, I think. It's over here.
Yeah.
30, 20 square feet in total footprint of both.
That's going to be a problem, because the code for small-scale solar freestanding and ground-mounted solar collectors only allows 2,000 square feet for residential use. So that is something we're going to have to look into and talk about. I didn't take a look, but I would put it in my memo anyway. So I think that's something we're going to have to discuss, take a look at, and talk about with the CPA as well.
I think when we met in pre-con, we also asked you to go ahead with the phase 1A and 1B. Can you update me on the status of that?
Yeah, so we are in contract with a firm to do that dig. However, it's very expensive, and we want to wait until we at least have some type of general direction from the planning board and zoning board to make sure that that will be the trench line that gets studied. So we're ready to do it. We just want to make sure that we're digging the line that's going to be there.
Gotcha.
So, but yeah, we have contacted and are in contract to do that.
Okay. I'll open it up to other planning board members for questions, comments.
You haven't engaged with an archaeologist for the phase 1A, which is just like the documentary research, just to see the significance of the site.
It's phase 1A and B is what we're ready to do.
Okay. Is there any kind of a easement on this property? Like scenic Hudson or?
No. So Scenic Hudson has a scenic easement, but ends on that property line. So that easement ends jurisdiction here. I think jurisdiction is the right word for an easement ending, but it does not apply on this parcel here.
Is there one on the, because there are a number of parcels that seem to be the same owner that are all adjacent in that area. Are any of those covered by?
No, and I contacted Scenic Hudson directly. That easement stays on this south, like back in this.
But that's the Southlands one?
Yeah.
There's not one for Dove's Nest,
No.
a little closer to the river?
No. So, and I asked them, I said, is there any other easements nearby that you need to be aware of? And he said no.
Will the array directly feed the house, or will they simply put more electricity into the existing pole, sending it back to
I
the grid?
can't hear your question.
Sorry. I'm wondering if the array, the solar array, will directly feed the house energy needs?
Yes, it will. It'll be what's called behind the meter. So it'll be servicing the loads that are on that meter for the house.
Is there battery backup?
No.
I see. I guess that's all I have at the moment.
We put together some renderings that you may want to look at. I don't know if you had a chance. I just sent those in today, but we did a pretty good job of
And just to clarify on the archaeology, Craig, I mean, because you know, we often request this in projects like this, but certainly the level of sensitivity in this particular area proximate to the river, with the creek going through there, raises the possibility, if you will, of pre-contact occupation on
Yes.
this particular location.
Well, and it seems like from what the applicant has said that the needs for archaeology are going to be driven by the determination of this board, and we're going to select the site based on a whole bunch of different factors. And then that site is going to get investigated, and if that turns out to be hot for archaeology, then that could be a complicating factor, and maybe engaging early.
Yeah, I mean, you certainly could choose to go ahead with the phase 1A. I mean, you're under contract, so we leave it up to you. You won't get an approval, you won't be able to go ahead until we're satisfied that we have
Right.
the appropriate information from those surveys.
And I know we have, what my understanding is, a joint site visit with the zoning board on the 16th, so.
Haven't yet scheduled that, we're going to talk about that. That's the zoning board of appeals has been reviewing this. It's been a little out of the normal order where we're looking at it simultaneously. So the zoning board of appeals has moved ahead and they've scheduled their site visit for Saturday the 16th. I don't know if the time's been set yet or not. And Scott Bergen shared with me that the ZBA would be perfectly happy if we wanted to join them on that site visit. They just choose to do Saturdays. We could choose to go with them or not. So when we get to the procedural resolution, we'll talk about that, whether you want to make that the scheduled site visit or not. 10 a.m. 10 a.m. Yeah. I was led to believe that Scenic Hudson had been contacted and they had not chosen to weigh in on this. Is that correct? Do you know?
I contacted Scenic Hudson
Right.
and they looked into the easement, the
Right.
scenic easement, that's all that they
Okay, so
said.
they are not responding with comments of their own.
They had no comments, yeah, they had a great
Do you have
conversation.
emails to that effect or something documenting your
I
contact?
had a phone call with them.
No, you might want to ask them to verify
Sure.
the email, just so we have a record of that.
Okay.
Yeah. Other, Sharon?
You talk about the screening. Where exactly is the screening?
It's right here.
Over there, and what's along the other southern property line?
Down here is just all natural growth and vegetation, so
So that's where
trees,
the power lines
brush.
are now.
Overhead, yeah, but a little bit, for the power lines that serve the property are a little bit south, I'd say maybe 15 feet south of the property line, 10 feet or so. And then the natural screening is right about on the property.
Because, depending on how close the power lines are to the property line, Central Hudson goes in and clears, they'll clear 20 feet wide. So how does that affect the screening?
Yeah, Central Hudson has no need to, oh yeah, you can see it here. So, because we're not disrupting those overhead lines at all, we're just putting a new, customer-owned service meter on the existing pole that's on the property, on the truck.
No, because what I'm saying is when Central Hudson goes in and clears an area, and you can see it on several roads in the town, they do it because there's trees overhead, and they're trying to prevent bad storms and the trees
Sure.
coming down and taking out the lines. So that's why I'm just wondering.
And you can actually see the power lines here, there's a pole there and a pole here. So the overhead power lines are quite a bit south of any of that growth of those trees, so I don't see that as a concern at all.
Is the line private at that point, do you know? Is it private line? Usually from the pole in, it's considered to be the homeowner's responsibility. Is that a private line from the street in?
This
No, or
is, I can't really remember, I think the meter, the primary meter for the 102 Southlands property is fed from 9 to an overhead transformer on that pole, and then it hits the meter and comes this way. So this is all utility, I believe the utility easement comes right through here. And then it ends, like I said, we're gonna come after this pole here, which is a customer owned pole. So none of this gets, messed with at all, we'll be over here. But I do believe that utility easement covers those overhead lines all the way through.
Those trees on the south line there, they will not shade the array?
No, I mean, they may a little bit. So one of the things that when I started working on this, I knew there were some things that I needed to do to find ways to reduce visibility. So this setup here, this is a racking system that has 5 panels laid over in landscape, so they're on their side, and then 5 stacked on top, or 4 stacked on the first. But because of that, it's at a low tilt. So the tilt of this array is 25 degrees, which will lead to a very summer productive system where the sun is higher, so it won't have the shade impact that it would. But I mean, it is, fairly, there is going to be some shading loss to the system. But again, the purpose of being where it's at is to take advantage of the topography and getting in a way to where, it can be screened as naturally as possible. That was always the objective, was figuring out how to screen it as naturally as possible. So I think that answered your question. There will be some shading, but because of the low tilt, the shading will be more minimal than it would be if it was a steeper tilt.
And it won't be terribly productive,
Probably not terribly. I mean, it will be productive, but it will have heavier winter losses than it would if it was tilted a little steeper. And it would have more of a shading loss if it was steeper.
So is it inherent to the function of this that while the sun's out, it's producing probably an excess of what you're going to be consuming, unless it's really complicated running air conditioning. And then that excess gets translated back to the utility. And then at nighttime, if your heat pump kicks on, it's going to run off of the grid, but there's going to be a net, if anything, a net gain, net positive.
Yeah, it'll fall under what's called phase one net metering.
Okay.
So any of that excess power during the day will be exported to Central Hudson
Right.
and receive a volumetric credit on that meter, so the meter spins back.
Right. Now, is there anything else that's going on the property, like the addition of heat pumps or, electric dryers, appliances and things like that that are being added because, well, now we've got this available solar.
Not that I know of to be added because of this, but they're heavy consumers on the meter, so.
Okay. Do they heat with the electric?
I'm actually not
Heat
sure.
pumps?
Anyone else?
Gretchen let me know, just to clarify, that the overages in the area for the surface area of the panels is part of the ZBA application. So they were asking for that difference, so that's being
That's
addressed.
already under review.
It's being addressed by the ZBA. So I don't have to figure that out tomorrow.
Good. That's a help.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, then we have a draft procedural resolution.
The draft procedure resolution asking the planning board to act on the application by Dove's Nest for site plan, special use permit under Town Code Chapter 125 for installation of ground-mounted solar at 102 Southlands Road within the RA10 zoning district. Accepting the application, supporting documents that would for further review, classifying the action as unlisted under seeker, for which coordinated environmental quality review is not required. Scheduling the public hearing for September 2nd at 6:05 a.m. p.m. Wow, sorry. We will send this to the CAB for review, the WAC and HAPAC, as well as Dutchess County, and we need 2 planning board members to do a site visit.
Okay.
And we should probably discuss coordination tonight.
Was that Sharon?
Okay, and Sharon, and would you like to be joining the,
Unfortunately, I have a thing all day on Saturday.
pardon me?
I have something all day that Saturday.
Okay. Well, then I'll leave it up to you and Sharon
I'll try to do the ZBA.
to. Okay. And so those planning board members also who wish to join that ZBA site visit on the 16th of August at 10 a.m. Just let Gretchen know so she can let Scott know. The others will be coming, so we'll make it available to anybody who wants to go at that time.
So I guess I'll be a separate visit. Sorry.
Okay.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That concludes the new applications for this evening, and we'll move now into the public hearing portion of the meeting. First up is Joel Herm, 443 Mill Road, site plan review, the abandonment of micro hydro previously approved. We have not received a report from Mark Long. We have not received a final report from Mark Long. So,
I emailed it last week.
a final report?
No, that was the letter from Rachel.
Oh, from CPO, you mean?
Yes.
We got the letter from Rachel.
I don't think that was part of the work plan. The work plan,
No, the work plan, what we confirmed at the last meeting was we need to sign off from CPL. Mark Long needs to give us a final report.
And then Brian.
And then it goes to Brian. Once Brian has the final report from Mark Long, and he does a site visit with Mark Long to inspect the work that was done, then Brian is the determining factor in lifting the NOV and the stop work order. So that's where we are.
okay. So I will call CPL, or you will call CPL?
Mark is aware that we're waiting for this report, I presume.
I talked to him recently, but I mean, yes, he's been involved in the project, so.
I'll call Mark in the morning.
Okay. That's what we're waiting for, and, you know, once we have that, which we'll get in 2 weeks, you know, we can't close out our review until we've got the sign off from CPO.
But you did get our engineers sign up with
We
it.
did.
All right.
So, need a motion to continue the public hearing until September.
Well, can we go, I mean, I saw the letter from the Rhinebeck engineer and I saw the photos today. I saw the letter from Rhinebeck and I saw the photos today. Is it possible that we would think CPL would be able to get there within the next 2 weeks so we can close this out faster?
Within the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm suggesting go out 2 weeks to the next meeting.
Okay, I thought you were saying September 2nd.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, I was, and you're correct.
Okay,
We should,
yeah. No, I was gonna make a suggestion,
Yeah, no, you're
on
right.
good faith, that Joel is
The work has been done and it was.
correct,
correctly.
and it looked darn good in pictures. Not
It's a good
CPL.
job.
Yeah, and Brian's assured me
Yeah,
that
so
once he
If we
gets,
can go 2 weeks, I think
Yeah,
that'd be
2
fair
weeks is
since we've worked together.
that's great. Thank you for correcting me. No, that's absolutely correct. And Brian has assured me that once he gets that final site visit with Mark Long, that he can lift the stop work order and the notice of violation almost immediately. So that's really, you know, he's not looking for weeks after to address it. He knows what he's waiting for, and I think he'll move quickly. So we're looking to go to August 18th. May I have a motion to continue the public hearing to August 18th?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Thank you, Joel. The next public hearing is Stephen Saragini, 52 Morton Road, site plan and special use permit, renovations and alterations of 4 existing structures. Good evening.
Hello, good evening. I'm Michael Sochewski with S3 Architecture on behalf of Stephen Sergidini regarding the renovation of 4 existing structures at 52 Morton Road. So this is a continuation of discussion from our last meeting on July 7th, which specifically focused on the potential bedroom count in our proposed plans. The board identified 2 key areas, one in the main house second floor snug room as a potential additional bedroom, and the accessory structure studio office room as a potential extra bedroom. So we received authorization by the owner to revise the plans and remove the rooms or partitions in those spaces, which we submitted on July 8th to the board for review. So if we go to page 17, I think in this set, you can see this is the second floor of the main residence. So this is actually, I think this is an older plan, Jim. We've since submitted. We submitted on July 8th a PDF of 2 pages and also before the meeting, the full set as well.
So July 8th?
Yes.
Apologize.
But basically, I guess while we're waiting, the snug room, which is that study area for the children's, next to the children's bedrooms, had this partition wall and door, which we removed from the plans. And then in the accessory structure, studio structure, there was an office room. So we removed that from the plans by removing the partition that divided that space and also the door accessing it as well.
Sorry, I'm still looking. What's that?
Yes, July 15th is the larger full set, and then July 8th is just those two floor plans.
So just to clarify, the sunroom is still there, there's just no wall. It's just
Yeah, there's no
open
wall,
space.
it's just an open space, yeah, with a window.
Okay.
Well, I believe that was a request that was.
Yes.
Yeah, one minute, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, that'll be right here.
And that brings the bedroom count down to what's allowable based on the septic. correct?
Yes, correct.
Jim, while we were looking, does anybody recall, was there anything other than that outstanding issue? I don't recall that there was. I think it was the bedroom count that we were stuck on, and by opening this up, we reduced the likelihood that it could be used as a bedroom
Yes, exactly.
in both of those situations.
Yes.
Any board members who have other questions or concerns, are we all set on everything else regarding this?
So in the accessory dwelling, there's now one large bedroom.
Yes, so now there's a larger bedroom that encapsulated that former space, so this is it's a larger open bedroom, essentially.
This is the one big open plan room, isn't it now? Generally speaking.
For that specific bedroom, yes, it's like a larger king-size bedroom, could fit a king bed and maybe like a lounge sofa. Yeah.
I can't find it.
I just sent it.
Yeah.
It's in the small.
Do you have a hard copy with you?
I do, yes.
Then perhaps we could share the hard copy, or maybe you just want to walk it down in front of any board members so we can all put eyeballs on
So
it.
if you just look on this page here and also the next page, just look to the next page and you can see the changes to those areas. So you can just pass this down. No wall. And then this is now one larger space.
So this is the bedroom, and then on the other, there's the wall. Now it's not.
You want to look at it?
No, no, here you go.
Page 17 and 18. One more out. This one, yep.
Sorry about that.
All good.
Anything else, planning board members? Do you have anything else?
No, I think that was all that I have for my
Public hearing is still open, correct? Are we ready to move ahead and close the public hearing?
I think so, yes.
May I have a motion to close the public
I
hearing?
make that motion.
A motion, can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Jim has a draft approval resolution, I believe.
The draft approval resolution for the board's consideration tonight for the application by Stephen Sarah Giannetti for site plan special use permit or Town Code Chapter 125 for alterations, renovations to an existing non-historic principal residence, garage and accessory structure and studio at 52 Morton Road within the HP 20 zoning district. Reaffirms the actions type 2 under seeker for which coordinated environmental quality review is not required. With respect to the application for special use permit, finding the proposed work and intended use is consistent with the general standards for special use permits set forth in Town Code Chapter 125, and granting the requested special use permit conditioned upon site plan approval. And with respect to the application for site plan approval, finding the proposed work and intended use is consistent with Town Code Chapter 125, approving the application materials submitted by SE Architecture, last revised, and I will put in the updated site plan we just looked at today with the new date. We are authorizing the planning board chair to stamp and sign the above cited site plan upon the applicant's satisfaction of the conditions listed below. And note that in taking this action, the planning board further authorizes the secretary to provide additional approval resolution details about next steps to the applicant, and a reminder that all plan sketches and other materials submitted to the Town of Rhinebeck Building Department for any required permits must match the materials approved by the planning board. Tonight, any submissions that do not could be rejected and or require re-review.
May I hear a motion? I have a motion, second. I'll pull forward. Craig?
Aye.
Edna?
Aye.
Tom? John?
Aye.
Karen? And I vote aye.
Thank you so much.
The next public hearing that was scheduled for this evening is that of Wendy Maitland, 636 River Road, site plan review for the installation of HVAC units. Unfortunately, this public hearing was not properly noticed, and we were going to have to continue the public hearing until the September 2nd.
We're going to reschedule.
Reschedule.
She didn't notice it at all.
Oh, okay, so she didn't notice it, it's never been scheduled, so we're going to be rescheduling the public hearing for September 2nd. May I have a motion? Motion second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. The next public hearing for this evening is 9 Hook Road LLC, 9 Hook Road, site plan, special use and wetlands permit, 2 lean-to roof additions and fencing. Good evening.
Good evening, Seth Stickle with Mark Rubinsky, the LSPC, here this evening to represent 9 Hook Road and their application for site plan, special use, and wetlands permit. So we did have some business since the last time we were in front of the board. We did have a site visit and met with both the planning board and CAB. Since that was Sean, obviously just wait until he gets back. I don't know if there's anybody from the public and you'd like me to just run through the presentation quickly about what the project was for.
I think so. I know at least one person here interested in this project, so
Excellent.
I know you should give us a run through.
Sure. The parcel, as noted, is on Hook Road. It's on the north side. I believe it is just about 5 acres, just over 5 acres. The parcel was previously the site of Decker Excavation. It is a contractor's yard. It was approved as a contractor's yard when it was developed. The existing property has a drive entrance, and you have the main building and then 2 outbuildings. One is more of a lean-to open garage structure. The other is a formal kind of garage with garage doors. The proposal is to add just 2 small lean-tos, one on either side of the building. On the south side, that is not really visible from the roadway due to existing vegetation that is all along this area, and then along what is the east side, just a small overhang there as well. Also, as part of this application, is the fence line that's going in. So there's just approximately 750 feet of fencing going in. That fencing will be 8-foot fencing. We had the discussion previously about the fence with this board. The comments were made about the nature of the fence for security, which included some barbed wire. In speaking with the client, we are certainly willing to go ahead and eliminate the barbed wire from that proposal. We would still like to propose an 8-foot high fence in that area. One of the other things that was discussed just briefly in board meetings was whether potentially some screening slats, so brown or green screening slats might be added to either this portion here of the fence or this portion. So we'd be willing to consider that, but honestly, in the discussion, when we were in the field especially, it was thought that maybe just a regular galvanized fence would have a lighter appearance than something that has slats and kind of makes it look like a physical barrier or structure. So open to suggestions on that. The only other thing that was discussed in the field is there is actually a row of existing vegetation that remained here, and then several plantings along this whole area. Right in here is just a little pocket of visibility, and we had discussed potentially planting a tree in that area as well. The site functions as it was designed and exists, so there is an existing septic system that drains out by gravity to this area here. There is also a stormwater pond with a controlled outlet structure, which is in the southeast portion of the project. So most of the water drains off of this site and goes into this pond before it's discharged. There is a good portion of this site, just pointing out here, what is the wetland boundary. When it was developed, was issued a wetlands permit for that. So there is a good portion of the site that's within that area. So the wetlands permit is for the fence that would be placed in that area, and then as well as the two lean-to structures added to the main structure. There won't be any lighting improvements proposed. One of the other things that was discussed at the time of the last meeting was about cameras and security. This site, because of the work that New York Transco does, they work with all of the utility providers in the area. Their site is actually required to be linked to the monitoring and database system for all of those carriers. So there's actually a very expensive network of cameras around this building now that are linked directly to those and monitored. So once the gate goes in here, this will be actually an automatic gate, and this will be just a traditional kind of regular opening gate. This automatic gate, in order for the employees that work at this site to get into it, they'll actually have to be buzzed in through that security system. Only 3 to 5 people work here on a daily basis that do most of the planning. The site is really used for the storage of materials for emergency repairs, efficiency upgrades, and general maintenance of the utility lines that exist in our area. That is pretty much a summary of the project.
Jim?
Don't have a whole lot new since the last meeting. I did take a look at this because I did miss that they were proposing a barbed wire fence. My professional opinion is planting barbed wire is not ideal, probably inappropriate in this location. That's just my opinion. We did take a look at the Google map image, and this is the site here. And again, it's just my opinion. It's the board's decision, obviously. But I do feel like an 8-foot chain link fence is going to change, the look and character along the road up here.
Just want to note that that is May 2012.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different growth that is existing now.
Yeah. So, and be that as may, I did put in, my notes that, it almost seems like the fence might be able to be moved in internally further to protect the buildings themselves. There might be other options out there, as we discussed at the last meeting. It just seems like fencing off a good chunk of the property might be a bit excessive, but that's just, my taking a look at it. And if, the materials on there are very sensitive, it seems like those might be held inside the building versus outside. But that aside, really nothing new other than I don't like the idea of barbed wire. I don't think it's appropriate for the location and the fence itself. We can certainly discuss those about it.
Website visit.
Yeah, I would totally comment, because when we were, during our last meeting, the look from the road as vegetated, I guess is a good way of saying it. So you don't have those same line of sights. Obviously during the winter, that might change slightly, but it is predominantly evergreen. We did talk about there's one area where you could see moderately, where we did propose potentially putting another tree. I will say the current screening looks natural compared to like a wall of trees, so it actually, it does, I don't think putting the wall of trees would be helpful, but like that line of sight currently is not a bit, when I was there, you could not see that.
Well, that's the benefit of like.
Yeah, of course. I do think that maybe a black fence or something like that might kind of like blend in would be better than a galvanized potentially step. I know we did talk about, they have like this cloth material you put there. We thought that'd be more like jarring like a wall. Back to the material on site is quite significant in the sense of size. If you think of like, you know, all the lines we just did, I'm thinking of like over by like Burger, like, you know, like they have those materials and those transformers on site that are 30, 40 feet tall. There is one pad which I might have missed about that there is an existing fence. I don't think it was originally on the site plan. I don't know if we covered that briefly. There's a pad to that back. Yeah.
This is the.
They did end up putting a small fence there, and they have it looks like giant spark plugs that are like 30 feet tall. But like,
So
that's the best way you can explain them. But like, I guess from the site, I'd say is you can't see anything. We also did talk about potentially on the left-hand side being it's kind of the north side almost. Adding additional vegetation along that line. It is very vegetated. I might do have a video. I submitted it late, but we do have a video. I don't think additional vegetation would be necessary. I'd say like the walkaway, the takeaway from the meeting is maybe one additional tree would help. The site is lightly trafficked, definitely compared to the buildings next door while we're there. Where they were much more significantly trafficked. And I think everything makes sense when you start looking at the type of materials on site. They're extremely expensive and extremely, you know, they maintain all of our power lines basically within is it a 100-mile radius or?
Yeah.
Roughly?
Yeah, it's, this location is centered almost in the middle of their region. So.
And it is well, I missed a driveway on my way there. If it makes sense. Not a move, just going over the speed limit, but.
I did also submit a little late to Jim some photos, but I did bring those in hard copy. So I'd just like to go ahead and, those are just more recent photos, both of the entrance from the roadway, and they do kind of point out that pocket right about there where we were talking about potentially adding in
There's
an
like a
evergreen tree.
septic there though, right? So we had to be like careful, like
Just
location.
up the hill from that, here is the septic. That's kind of, this is a bit of a rise through here, and it's this little pocket in here where we talked about planting an evergreen tree. And also in this package are just a couple of examples of trees also that we could talk about now and make a decision about. Black vinyl coated fencing is certainly an alternative to.
I don't know, that might be less than that, like a silver that to me would stand out.
Did Elise go with you?
Delise was with me, and we had basically the same takeaways, was both of those.
Okay.
And I think Jeff Pope was there from the CAB.
Not with us.
So on the 17th, or the 18th, excuse me, we met with the planning board, Delise and Sean, and then on the 25th, I met with Jeff Pope as well.
Okay. And I have note that Jeff circulated to the members with a CAB for our review, and I was, if I may, I'll just read through it, it's quite short. Okay, so the proposed installation of perimeter fence and two sheds attached to the main structure do not appear to create significant deleterious environmental impact beyond the current use. Therefore, no CAB recommendations appear to be necessary. And in the site profile, he says the current and continued use of the site for the storage and rapid access to electric utility grid equipment for the region, primarily to support the emergency response. The site appears to be well maintained and orderly with no signs of debris or deteriorated equipment. While it is located within the boundaries of a wetland, the proposed actions do not appear to create conditions that will cause any additional impact to the wetland. When the site was originally developed, a constructed pond was required to catch the runoff, and the pond appears to be in good condition without any signs of debris or overgrowth that could undermine its function. Site manager Andrew reported that there is no outdated electrical equipment such as transformers on the site that could possibly include PCBs. He also indicated that the site follows all utility environmental management requirements. And for proposed actions, he says the 2 sheds that are proposed for construction are within the main building perimeter that is already currently gravelled and will not result in additional site disturbance in their construction. The proposed perimeter fence will be placed along the edge of the existing gravel and/or mowed areas and will not require significant disturbance of existing wooded areas on the site. Just as a final note, as an emergency response facility, the site supports electric grid integrity. So I thought that was a very comprehensive and well thought out report, and I would have to commend the CAB for the insight. I had totally overlooked the prospect of outdated electrical equipment that might have PCBs in it being put on site, and that's not part of their practice, so that's reassuring.
Certainly, yeah, and it did come up that as a requirement, as a utility, they do have environmental audits, they do have their own team of auditors, they have their own environmental company, they address these things on an immediate basis.
And that's very reassuring that it's not a fly-by-night operation. They're they mean business with us, so that's good.
Anyone else in the planning board? Is there anyone here from the public who would like to comment? We'd ask you to come to the microphone, give us your name and address.
My name is David Groth. I'm the owner of the building at 7 Oak Road, which is kind of indented into this other property. And my concern is not so much with the operations they have there. They seem, as you pointed out, a very clean operation for the size and magnitude of what they do. I am concerned about the fence. I'm concerned about the fact that as a consulting engineer, I'm approaching retirement. I'm probably going to sell that building. And right now, when on the east side of the building, it's quite everything's quite visible, even in the summertime when the trees leafed out. In wintertime, it's incredibly visible. So, and the trees, right now, it's not that concerning to me, but it might be to someone potentially buying a building. And having a giant fence without any kind of screening or shielding or anything really made it look quite industrial and quite frankly could devalue my property for sale. And that's my only concern. I don't have a problem with the extensions to their buildings or anything like that. So that's it. That's the deal.
Did the conversation about a black fence versus galvanized impact you at all?
I'm not sure what has to happen to do the fence. I can say there are some mature trees on the east side and the north side. North side is fairly well vegetated. The back side of the building, east side is not. And therefore, that's me. But you can look right through those trees. It looks quite something from above, but you can look right through there and see everything.
It's like a pocket you were talking about?
No, that was on the front. You could, if you got low, you could definitely, because the trees are on the higher side there, you could potentially see the back of the buildings. It's an industrial area that's very wooded. Quite quiet usually, except for when we were there.
What is your building? What's it used for?
I'm a consulting engineer.
So it's an office?
Yes.
It's not a residence?
No. I believe it's a mixed-use area there, zoning. So I'm not sure who would purchase the building. I don't know, it's not for sale at this time. But I just didn't want something that would cause the value to increase significantly. A big giant iron fence could be a problem. I'm sure there's a way to make it look better, but I'm just saying just a big industrial fence surrounding it would probably not be the best.
Well, I hear your point. I think we've moved considerably away from what first came in, which was a barbed fence. which we certainly have all objected to. And, you know, as we said, we've continued to kind of soften this look with understanding that this needs to have a higher level of security than just a regular industrial property. Any other thoughts from planning board members about this?
I would just say, being on the site, how well maintained the site is compared to some of the other sites nearby. You know, I can definitely see the concern if it was more jarring. I think if we lean into something that's a little more visible, which would be a colored fence of sorts, that I think it would be surprisingly disappearing for anyone that can potentially see through that. The only way you can see that property is from the rear of that building, is my understanding. Is that correct?
Yes. You know, the north side.
Where do the customers enter technically?
The second one down. Turn around. No, second from the top.
No, there you go. So the north side here is fine. There's enough vegetation, and there's low and high vegetation, actually some very, very tall, magnificent trees. When you get back here, there's less trees, and basically you can, even in the summer, I see right through to all of this. And again, because of they're so professional about how they keep their area, that's not of great concern to me. But having the fence, which I understand the necessity of, is, you know, it could detract from the value of the property. I understand the need for it, and I'm not saying there shouldn't be a fence. I'm saying that maybe there's something that can be done to make it a little bit more palatable, that's all.
What is the zoning of this? Is it
It's business park.
business park? Okay. So is there anything in that restricts the height of the fence or the nature? Like, I know in some of our residential areas, you can have a fence up to a certain height, but there has to be visibility, you know, up above 4 feet. You have to be able to see through it. Yeah. So the idea of putting the opaque slats in the chain link is not.
It can be done, but it requires a special use permit, and just additional consideration of the design.
Yeah.
Without that now, since you can see through it, doesn't require a special use permit.
Right, but using a black grid can sometimes help things to blend in. I know we do that with bird netting in historic buildings, where if you put up just the white netting, it shows, you can see it a mile away, but the black filament really just kind of fades in, even against limestone light colored background. So maybe something like that, like a dark colored fence materials would be less intrusive.
I think that's what Sean is saying, the field visit suggested, that
Right.
we're black as opposed to galvanized.
Yeah, and certainly the buildings to the south of your building are quite visible. Very much out in the open. That has a very, industrial kind of look.
Well, the building, the 5-foot road is Children's Medical Group.
Yes.
So it's a, professional doctor's office. And I don't think that in any way would detract from the value of selling my property at all. I don't see that. I mean, even though the yards are virtually connected, there isn't much vegetation between us. We maintain a little garden across the front of our building. They keep their area very, very nice, and I don't see a problem with 5-foot road. I don't see that as being a problem.
Yeah.
And I don't see anything they're trying to do on site, as I already said, be a problem. I'm just concerned about the fence and if there's a way to make it a little bit more palatable, that's all.
Very familiar with this site. My daughter used to be in Dream Studio, which had previously.
Was in that building.
Was in there
That's
before
correct.
the Children's Medical. And I always thought that your building was really, it's kind of mid-century modern, it's got a real look to it, and having that vegetated background is a nice appearance. But running a fence through the woods that is of minimal visibility, I think might be the best outcome that we can hope for.
I guess, is there any way, I don't mean to cause the applicant to have to undue stress here, but is there any, in today's computerized world, that we can get possibly a rendering of what it would look like with the black fence? Is it possible?
I don't know.
Okay.
I would imagine it is, but I don't know at this juncture if that is likely to, I mean, what?
I think the challenge that we're up against right now is like, does it fall within the law?
Right.
And that's what we have to follow, right? It's not, like, that's, at the end of the day, that's our job as this board. Is it allowed by law in this town, yes or no? And, I mean, that's our job. Like, that's where we have to draw a line.
Do you seem to be able to acknowledge where this is? I've done the site visit, you can relate to this. Is there any additional screening that would mitigate this at all, that one narrow area that he's talking about?
Treading lightly, I wouldn't even know that other building was there other than a disgruntled situation that happened while we were there on the bordering property, which made me realize that there was a building there.
Was that on our property?
Yeah,
Somebody was disgruntled?
I don't know stuff. So I mean, other than that, I honestly, I'm only bringing it up because I literally didn't even notice that.
Okay.
And then I could peek through and I could see maybe a dumpster. Is there a dumpster back there?
No, not on our property.
All right, maybe it was a truck or a dumpster.
There's a truck that's parked there, yeah.
Yeah, and then that's when I realized it. But before that, prior walking that property, I did not see anything. I mean, there is a gap there, but like I don't know if we necessarily went back towards. Is that maybe a bigger truck on that property based on Google? I don't know if we went back that far to like really walk in that wooded area. But I'd also want to say is it's probably, it's got to be 60, 70 feet from, if I had to guess.
It's not to mention, Jim. 55 to our property down here.
60 is pretty close.
Not bad.
So, I mean, I hear what the gentleman was saying. I think if we went with something that was of tone that's not jarring and not looking like a wall, that would be less of a situation.
Right. Well, and also you said that there were a lot of large pieces of electrical utility equipment
Which
that are.
is way in the back.
Oh, they're way in the back. So
Yeah.
it's not like an issue where the fence would obscure the view of the equipment.
Yeah, not, so like that, let's give you like another, just give you an example, that far right garage, which is the closest to the gentleman's property, is closed door. And that's for additional security purposes, so that's, bottom line is, they're locked doors. The other back middle building, I'll call it, is kind of an open structure like a lean-to. And again, everything that they're looking to do, anything additional they're looking to do would be within that, would be that new lean-to they're putting there. Again, way away from the property, so I don't know. I hear what the gentleman's saying. I also think there's a significant difference, and again, I go back to what the law says, and that's what I have to follow.
It's really, is it just this amount of fence that we're talking about? Because it does get more heavily wooded or is it this area here?
I'd say like almost that dotted line is potentially the only area that you could see.
It's mostly the back, the east side. Yeah, so,
East side.
yeah, this is the part where we can see in quite a bit. There's some large trees here, but there were 4 or 5 shrubs here, even just low ones, that would kind of block the view of the fence and everything. I think that would be fine. I'm not trying to create a giant hassle here.
Okay.
I just want to make it so, because right now when I look out, I can see the giant
vacuum relay that's like 30 feet high, and I can see, I know what these parts are, I'm an electrical engineer. I can see all this stuff, and I don't mind it at all, I'm an engineer.
You like it,
I'm
yeah.
saying when it comes time for Mr. LeGrand to sell my building,
Sure.
what will other people think of
Right.
it? So I have no problem with any of it here, myself personally, so.
Okay. And the grade goes up?
It's about
Here?
flat, yeah, it goes up, there's this wet area in here, I'm sure that they know all that. It's very, very wet in here, the whole thing is very wet.
You know, the only thing I would say is it's awfully hard to make a decision speculating on what a future owner might object to. You know, in all fairness, somebody could come in and say, why did they do black? Why didn't they just do galvanized? You know, I mean, I believe we've gone the extra mile to try and make this as invisible as we can. And I just don't know that prolonging this to do a visual enhancement to see is going to change, it's not going to change my mind at this point. I think the fence is absolutely necessary. I think we've done the best we can to bring it to the highest level of both security for the applicant and to make it as compatible with the neighborhood as we can.
And to Sean's point, I don't think there's anything in the town code that would permit us to compel the applicant to move the fence or, to make drastic changes to their plan. But given that they are open to some of those superficial treatments, I think going with a darker fence material like a black chain link would be
Is this
probably the best choice.
I was just waiting my turn. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
So,
let me make sure that you've had is there anything else you'd like to add before I turn it back to Seth? Okay.
No, thank you for your time.
You're welcome. I will just ask if there's anybody else here from the public on this? Okay, Seth.
So just a little description of this area. I think the aerial photograph you had before, Jim, does a good job of showing where this V is, but just want to talk to this right now. So what you're seeing here is a dip in property. So this is a 160 contour. It drops down into a swell. So what we know is this area is all wet, as we said. So we're draining down into a constructed swell, which was part of the project to drain water. As you see, there's a pipe here into our stormwater pond. So there is a constructed swell, rises up to about a 162, I'd say, right here on this area. So there is a little bit of a change, so maybe 2 feet of change in the view across of these two properties here. One thing we would be concerned about is obviously we don't want to do any planting near the septic system. New York Transco actually works with a landscaping company that does all of their work. We are considering and proposing a tree here. That's part of our discussion. We can look at that in the pictures here in just a minute. I don't think there'd be any problem with planting another tree or two here in order to make and satisfy a need. But what we want to do is just make sure it is a little steep drop off here, so we just want to make sure that we don't mess with the integrity of the swale or the side slope. And then also, when you plant a tree next to a fence, it allows somebody the ability to get up and over fence. So we would just want to make sure that we're making considerations for that. So whether it's low shrubs, which I think are a great idea and maybe easily accommodated, we have some of those in the front here as well. We'll be doing and placing a few shrubs along this area in our final plan that we come to this board, as well as the tree that we had discussed.
Sounds very positive.
Okay.
So where are we with this? Are we able to move ahead with some conditions, or are we ready to close the public hearing? No one else here wishing to speak, so can we move ahead to close the public hearing? I believe we can do that.
I'll make that.
I'll make the motion second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, all right, Jen, what are your thoughts here now?
It's up to the board. If you think you're ready, you've heard comments from the public and discussed this now a few times. If you feel like it's where you need it to be or want it to be, we can move forward with some conditions, whatever those were. Sounds like some trees and maybe black fencing. I'm guessing that we have lots of vines and weeds and things back in there that might crawl up over the fence eventually anyway, help block the view, but, yeah, it's really up to the
So we're
board.
talking about going from galvanized to black fencing. We're talking about consideration of a tree and the location of Jim will cite along the entrance. And we're talking about the addition of some shrubs in that open area as identified by the neighbor. Are those the conditions that we're talking about?
We voluntarily removed
Correct.
the barbed wire as
Yes.
well.
Is everybody satisfied with that?
Yeah, sure, and
So we can
I'm
have the
sure.
resolution, and we'll just, when Seth comes back with those changes, we won't sign anything until those conditions are met.
Agreed.
May I have that motion then?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
I'll pull the board. Sharon? Sean? Yeah, Sean?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay.
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
The last public hearing of this evening is that of Rhinebeck Villas LLC, New York State Route 90 and Middle Road. Good evening, Sean.
Good evening, Sean Kemp on behalf of the applicant, Rhinebeck Villas. Not an incredible amount has been done since we were last here, but there were a few meaningful things I just wanted to bring to the board's attention. We're keeping this project moving forward. I did submit an updated memo on the potential use for the dining area. Towards the end of that memo, I also addressed some of the comments I think that were outstanding based on Jim's notes. One was the notation that reserves for future development that was up towards, I guess, the northern part of the parcel. That was actually something that was carried over from one of the pre-conference meetings where we were encouraged to make that designation to avoid any type of segmentation argument. There is no intention to build anything at this time on the northern portion of the project, other than what's already been depicted in the plans. Also, with respect to the archaeology, I believe that there was some concern that the northern portion of the property was not tested, but we confirmed that it in fact was. We supplied reference to the information where that can be found. The aquifer law does not apply to this project, and we did an updated well 72-hour pump test that we also supplied, and we're in compliance with all the regulations in that regard. We're working on the tree study that we mentioned last time that we were here. Rob is updating some architectural plans. We do need to make some more progress on the sign package. We know that that's an issue that we need to address. And we are planning to put together a meeting with the neighbors, concerned neighbors. I know some of them are here tonight, but we do plan on having a meeting with them so we can kind of discuss, get some input from them, and try and put together a project that's satisfactory to all involved, all stakeholders. Other than that, the one thing that I do note is that our engineering team hasn't received any comments from CPL. And I think the last time that we've had contact with them was back in June. It's been about 2 months. And I don't know if it's something that you'd like us to reach out to CPL directly, or is that something that the board would do in this case to determine, the status was on their comments. And then finally, the site visit, we would like to see what we can do about scheduling the site visit.
I can reach out to Christian. He's aware of this. I think we were going to have a memo before this meeting, but I'll reach out to Christian. I know he's aware of
Right,
this.
well, the other thing is, I think we have in the past, and I think we said it regarding this, that we encourage engineer-to-engineer conversations, so we wouldn't object if Rob or someone else from the team reached out to CPL as well. Jim will take care of it this time, but, we don't want to be slowing it down.
Sure, I understand that, and I think that I was just erring on the side of deference to the board because that has to do with timeliness of something being produced as opposed to like a technical discussion. So Jim, I appreciate you doing that.
Well, what I'll do is I'll reach out to Christian tomorrow, just give me like tomorrow morning, just to give him a heads up, and he may or may not be getting a call from you, or he can contact, I guess I'll have him contact your guys just to see
Sure.
what's going on.
That's totally
Let
fine.
me give
Again,
him a
I
heads
didn't
up
want
just
to
see where we stand.
overstep any boundaries or anything like that.
He's a bird, he should be, but I don't know.
I'll catch up with him.
I think based on the last escrow statement, there was some work done by CPL on this in June.
Okay, so Jim?
No, I think the response letter, addressed a lot of the questions that I had brought up in previous meetings, so I think we're in pretty good shape with those. We discussed a number of items you guys are still working on, so that's good. I guess the only one I didn't hear is just the sidewalk extension to Four Brothers. Just curious where that is again. I think it'd be fantastic. I know you guys have run it to the property line, which is all you technically can do, but if there's a way to work with them so that they're all be done at once,
Correct.
whoever can do it, it's just much easier to do when everything's mobilized than have someone come back later on. That's all.
And that's certainly,
If there's a way it can work out, that'd be great. If not, obviously I understand you can only go to the property.
no, and our intent is to try and get Four Brothers on board in that regard. So hopefully we'll be able to kind of dovetail that with the meeting with the neighbors as well.
So obviously, as you know, anything that gets approved, we would just need to be shown on a site plan, as it comes going up before the board. So if they're gonna be included, that's great. If they can't be, we would just, have to leave it off, they'd have to come back at a future time, which is why it'd be great if it all happened at once.
Okay, very good.
You guys working on it. Again, not having to have people drive there or walk along the side of the road is great, and I think that would be good for business and good for everybody, so.
Absolutely.
Planning board members, have you had a chance to review the material that Sean submitted in response to the questions that were asked? And do you have any additional questions or comments based on that? So the description, the narrative description of how the dining room would be used was satisfactory and complete enough for everybody? Because that was a big question, I think, in terms of understanding that usage. So thank you for that.
Understandably too.
Yeah. So we're just,
I think we need a site visit,
yep,
and then we'll provide additional materials as well.
I'd like to see what that wastewater facility is going to look like.
well, let me ask if there's anyone here from the public wishing to comment. And then invite you up to the microphone.
I don't want to disappoint Sean.
No, you won't disappoint me.
It depends.
And this is just in terms of what you're asking, this is the cut sheet we were given. What it looks exactly like, I don't know, Sean, if you know, but this is what we were given in terms of the.
I don't know if that's the exact unit, but I'll get a depiction of the exact unit that the applicant intends to use.
And then
This was the picture, I guess.
what it's going to look like after landscaping is in, et cetera, is what I'm primarily concerned about.
Sure.
From
No.
all directions.
And I believe Mr. Capo raised that the last time we were here. Yeah.
So just 2 points. One was the Christopher Capo, 22 Kendall.
Thank you.
Thank you. The sewage treatment plant, obviously, I think it requires some more discussion, right, including aspects like tertiary controls and, keeping the groundwater safe as possible. So I'll look forward to those discussions. I just want to, there were 2 things that I had brought up last time, and I didn't hear them mentioned again. So I'd just like to know from the board if these 2 things are going to be considered as part of the proceedings, or if I should stop bringing them up, honestly, because I don't want to waste anybody's time. The first is the dining hall, right? It was a 68-seat, I think, facility. And what we heard last time was that by policy, the applicant said that they were only going to allow people staying at the hotel to use that dining hall. My personal opinion is that's a relatively unenforceable policy unless there's security on staff checking IDs, as they go into the dining hall. So I'm a little bit skeptical about the asserted use case for the dining hall stating that it's only to be used by people staying at the hotel. given that, and also the point being that if this property were ever to be sold to another proprietor, that policy might change. They might decide to allow people to come in onto the site and use the dining hall that are not staying as guests at the hotel. So given those facts, opinion and fact, I still feel like there's sort of an implied variance being granted here if the parking lot specification is allowed to stand as is without consideration of the dining hall. Because right now, the way the parking lot is spec'd, it's to support a 60-room hotel and some staff. If the dining hall were to be taken into consideration as part of the parking lot specific, it would require more parking spaces, okay? And my concern here is because, you know, we've all driven down that part of Route 9G. It's 2 cycles sometimes at that light there, right? If that parking lot is overloaded, you're going to have people parking either along Route 9 on the shoulder or on Middle Road. And both of those will create a really unsafe condition.
You're saying parking for access to the dining hall?
Yeah, if the hotel's at peak capacity and there's some event going on that utilizes that dining hall, and either they can't maintain their policy that only guests are to use the dining hall, so outside people are coming in, where are they going to park, right? And again, if the hotel were to ever change hands and somebody else were running it and they didn't have that policy that they were going to check to make sure only guests were using it, you're going to have outside people coming in, right? So my point is that the site parking is spec'd right now for a 60-room hotel plus staff, not dining.
Well, if it's spec for that, that would be a big determinant for leasing the dining room. Because you're gonna run into all kinds of code violations, and you're gonna have the sheriffs there ASAP.
Yeah, but we don't want that, right?
I know, but the thing is if you only have adequate, I've stayed in well over 100 hotels like this. And I used to travel a lot. And I have never encountered that there's a party going on in the dining room. It's just not, this is set up as a hotel, not as an event center. They're not good, they can't advertise that dining room to be leased out. They can't lease it out.
Yeah, I'm not talking about leasing. I'm talking about, you know, examples were brought up in prior discussions about things like a bridal shower.
Well, one thing I was going to say is, since the last meeting, Mr. Kemp, on behalf of the applicant, submitted to us a narrative explaining, which I don't think has been shared with you, for example. So we want to make sure now that we've had this meeting and it's in the public record, that information will be released and you can then read that. I'm not saying that your comments aren't valid, but I do think that the narrative that was sent to us answered some of the questions that you're asking. So to go back to your first, are we going to continue to talk about it? Yes, because we felt that this was an important issue in defining exactly how that dining part of this application is going to function.
Okay, but let me, in the context of this particular point, let me just narrow it down to the exact concern. Is the board comfortable right now that the parking lot design for this complex meets zoning standards?
Yes.
With the dining hall?
Because as my understanding of the dining hall, as it stands right now, it really is intended to be a function of occupants of the hotel.
Okay.
And of course, it goes to the point of your argument would assume that every single room in the complex was rented all the time.
Well, or at some point.
At some point.
Right.
I found, there's still some things in that narrative I want to go back and look at, and I think it warrants further discussion. I don't think we've closed the door on I haven't closed the door on everything there. So my advice is be in touch with Gretchen. We'll figure out how you get a copy of that. And by all means, submit any additional questions you have. See if it addresses anything. Sean, do you have something you want to add?
I just wanted to kind of echo what you're saying. I think that this is a valid concern. I don't mean that.
Go ahead.
I think it is a valid concern. I just want to note that the code doesn't actually provide a parking calculation for this type of use. So we went to a manual to figure out the proper formula to use. And the same goes with respect to the dining area. The code just says that we're allowed to have a dining area, and that's referenced, I believe, in the definition of the hotel and things of that nature. So we're doing our best to kind of describe and set forth what our vision is. That said, I personally remain open to this dialogue because I live in this community as well, and I want a good project. And I know the applicant, who's from the area as well, wants a project that they can be proud of as well. So I welcome the opportunity to have these discussions further with you and the board.
Well, and it's probably a discussion that we can further on the site visit, but let me just say that from the very first moment that this application in its very first iteration came into us, one of the major points that we've always looked at is that we did not think it was sustainable as an event center.
Right.
So that is the point that I think we're all trying to drive home. We do not want this to turn into a wedding venue. That's not what it's intended to be. It's not intended to be rented out every weekend for some kind of bachelor party or bachelorette party. And we're trying to get that pinned down as much as I think you are. So to answer the original question, yes, this board is taking that seriously, and we will continue to talk about that. So that's not off the table.
The only thing I'd add, I'd be much more concerned if there's 60 extra parking spaces.
Yeah.
You know, in this context, if there's 60 extra parking spaces, like who's going to fill those? In reference to this dining hall. So seeing that, I think it's like 1.2. I think it's like the formula you use to each room. I think there's adequate parking, and it also prevents some of these potential concerns that have come up with this. Again, I stand behind what Melody just said, just in reference to the dialogue, and I think we're going to continue to look at it. But I just say I'd be much more concerned if there's 60 extra parking spots.
And one other thing, whatever final
You said what I was
constraints
saying
are
much better.
placed on the use of this property would apply to any person who would later buy the property.
So that we codified into the deed?
It would be part of the special permit.
Part of the approval.
Yeah.
That's fine, look.
I mean, it's made a condition of the approval. The next owner can't just suddenly do away with what we agreed to here.
Yeah.
And I mean, as far as I know, there's not a lounge or a bar in this building,
No.
so the idea that you can ask your friend to come for a drink is not something that will take place in this.
My only concern was that we might have people looking for parking elsewhere. Like I said at the beginning, I wanted to make my point. I'm not going to try to, keep making the same point. You guys get it.
We
So-
do, and we have it, and we're continuing to look at that.
Yeah.
And that,
And your participation is
Yep,
appreciated.
absolutely.
And also, not for nothing, we do have a zoning enforcement officer who's not at all hesitant about slapping a violation on a site that's being used outside of its site permit.
Got it.
That's correct.
Yeah, but that, all of us are trying to work together to avoid that, that's sort of like that's the.
We're also here, I also can say that through Jim and others, we as members of this board continue to talk to the town board about this gateway area and the potential for development along there that we need to be aware of. There are other things that have gone in there, tree services and car dealers, not car dealerships, car service areas. So it has the potential to be a heavily trafficked area that we're very conscious of wanting to keep it as much of a gateway as we can.
Right. Thank you. And if I may, the second thing that I'm concerned about, if you go back to the other view of the, sort of like a hybrid view of the satellite image. Yeah, that. And I brought this up last time as well, right? So complete transparency here, right? You guys know where I live, right there.
That you?
That's me.
Okay.
Yep. The waste treatment plant is like kind of behind me, all right? So we talk about property values being impacted, and things like that. It's not a great feature to have right behind you, right? As well as the look, you know, from 9G coming into the town, right? It will be up on a slight elevation. And we know, you know, if there's vegetation now during the summer, that's awesome. During the winter, it's not there. Like I told you last time, you can see, you know, my bedroom window from 9G during the winter, right? Which means you're going to see the plant. So again, I'll make the point here, right? But I'm not going to keep bringing this up because I trust that you guys will take this and contemplate it. There are like probably 3 or 4 things that could be mitigated by potentially moving that waste treatment plant closer into the envelope of where the buildings are being put, right? So one is the scenic gateway issue, right? So if it were moved, and I know there's wetlands back here, you know, I know, you know, Sean's not going to want to hear about the idea about potentially deleting a building and making it the waste treatment plant. But the mitigation it would provide would be to get the discharge of this plant from this area, which is sort of the entranceway onto the property, so to speak, from 9, closer to the termination point of where this intermittent stream flows, right? So if this plant were to terminate closer to back here, you avoid thousands of feet of potential groundwater contamination, right? To me, that just makes sense. Let's move it closer to where it ends up and avoid the potential for groundwater contamination through here, right? The other thing, and I know you have to get sort of a sign off from the fire inspector, and I trust that the fire inspector, you know, ought to be totally in tune to the New York State Fire Code. But my reading of it, you know, as a newbie at this, by the way, is that they would need, the fire department would need emergency vehicle access to this facility, right? There's a generator there, there's fuel being stored there, there's a plant, and I have to imagine, you know, there's a significant amount of electrical current being consumed by this plant, right? So I know it's probably a very, very slight chance that there would ever be an issue there, but again, I want to make sure there's no implied variance being granted, especially something that could potentially be in violation of New York State Fire Code. And honestly, I don't know if they had to get an emergency vehicle up through here. This is like a gravel path, a footpath, I think it's supposed to be, or maybe for like an ATV or something. I don't know how you get a road in there that's going to support a fire truck, right? So again, if that could be moved, you'd mitigate potential groundwater contamination, you'd mitigate potential access for emergency vehicles, and you would mitigate the view of that thing, you know, coming in from 9G. All right? So those are my thoughts about that.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, so based on the information we've had, I believe the fire chief has signed off on this already, but we have not heard from the fire inspector. Does that sound right?
That sounds right to me. Brian Knapp,
Yes.
he's the chief. I believe he's the individual that Rob dealt with directly.
He is the person, and I believe that based on his visit, certain changes were made to this design.
That's my understanding as well.
Including the second means of
Emergency access.
over there. So I thought that Rob had indicated that he looked at the access to that, but I can't swear.
I thought so too. I can look into that. And
Let's verify.
Rob was pretty diligent about.
Yeah, I
staying on
thought
top
he
of
had
it.
commented on the access there, but we can double check that to make sure. As far as the code enforcement officer, we have talked about also looking for our fire inspector, right? As opposed to just fire. Has that been sent to him?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if you've talked to the fire inspector for the town, but that's something we,
I have not, but, can I have his or her name?
Bob DeLuca.
Kimberly has this information.
You can get it from Kimberly and contact him, and that's a second opinion in addition to the chief.
Okay.
and just to point out, I have, this is road width. This is, you know, it's limited access. There was a gate here, I believe, or knockdown dollar or something. So obviously they'd have to have a box key or the knockdown dollars. But this is, you know, if you look at the road here, this is you know, one way in, one way out. This is built essentially the same width as your roadway in. So it is the road width standards. And the fire chief has looked at it and said he's okay with it, and he's comfortable with it. Obviously he can get his trucks up in there because we've worked with him a number of times on projects. So if he said it's okay, I'm comfortable. Obviously he's okay with it. We'll get the fire inspectors input as well. But that is built, just to be sure, it is built to road width. It's not a footpath or ATV path.
I think what's come up in the past is, you know, we'll get in there. You know, if there's an emergency, we'll get in there. It's just a matter of safely getting back out. And what they usually require is a hammerhead, something they can pull into, back up, and go back out the other way. And it seems like you have that at the, you know, right where the generator is located. Yeah. So there seems to be a provision from that. But if there's some sort of a defect, I think we should.
But we do rely on them to give us the fire, you know, their sign off from the fire department's perspective.
Sure.
They know best how to
Well,
get
the
it.
people who would be best equipped to comment on the alternative suggestion would be your engineering department.
Yeah, that's outside my,
But what
My
I'm suggesting
wheelhouse.
is you have a public comment here that should go back to your engineering consultants. And, you know, whether they're present at the next meeting or not, they can respond to this, either in writing or it's all being videotaped, so they can certainly go back and look at that and understand the gentleman's.
and I noted his comments.
I just also want to just mention on the parking, originally, when this came in, there were 119 parking spaces proposed, which was 2 per room, which we thought was excessive because typically people who go to a hotel are going to show up in one car. You might have a couple people who show up in more than one. That's why you guys ended up at 1.2, which we thought was reasonable, which brings us to 84 parking spaces for 60 units. So it provides 1 car per hotel room, which is what we would assume on average will come with a bit of an overflow. But there's also, right here, 22 spaces that are parking in reserve, which essentially is going to be a grass strip with the parking grid in it. So it does provide for other parking if necessary, but we don't want, as a planner, I don't want it built as if you can have 2 or 3 cars per room, because that would potentially encourage something we don't want that. We want this to be built as a hotel, used as a hotel, and those are the discussions we're having. So the number of parking spaces was reduced from 119 down to 84, plus the parking reserve, based on our request.
Can I just ask the board though, you know, regarding this?
Here, come up to the mic.
Yeah, regarding the treatment plan, it's one thing to ask the developer to consider alternatives, but if the board is comfortable right now with the location of the facility, given the scenic, you know, entranceway to the community and the other points that I made, I'll stop asking about it. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I can voice my concern, but it doesn't make sense to me to keep bringing this up if the board, with your experience, you have far greater experience than I do in these matters, right? If you're looking at this and saying, okay, Chris, thanks for your comments, but this is okay the way it is, and it's up to the developer if he wants to change. That's a totally different.
I don't know that we're there yet. I think that we're very much in the process of taking in new information and evaluating it. That's why we appreciate these comments from you.
Okay. Yeah, I was just asking because
After a while, you begin to read our faces, and you'll know when we will know when you've said it the 50th time.
Yeah, no, I don't want to be that guy
I know,
that says
I know.
the same thing.
You're not there yet.
Okay. Don't ever let me get there.
But I think it's a perfectly reasonable question that I'm willing to explore as far as alternatives.
Yeah.
You know, is this the one and only location for this, or might other sites on the property work better?
Right.
As you say, the outfall it seems to be located, you know, pretty far. upstream, and there might be a technical purpose in that, and I'm not really certain.
Yeah. Okay. Now, on a positive note, I'll end on this.
No?
I do very much appreciate the work you guys have done in restructuring the project. Because the first shot at this, you know, my wife was like, we got to get out of here, right? So thank you for everything you guys have done. I think anything like this generally ends up being a compromise of sorts where we can all live together and be okay with the outcome, right? So that's what I'm looking for.
I was thinking that maybe the meeting with the neighbors should take place at Four Brothers.
That's exactly what I was thinking, actually.
I'm thinking it would be a great
Yeah, it's a great
forum.
idea.
You all meet there
And
and
pull the
have
manager in, knock out the sidewalk issue.
some pizza,
All the
Greek
day.
salad, the whole thing, so, but I do want to encourage you to move ahead with that. And so let's talk about a site visit here, because I don't believe there's anybody else here from the public. Where do we want to go with a site visit, folks? I know where we want to go, it's like, when do we want to go?
Well, I know there's a question of like creating a walking path.
Well, that's what I wanted to bring up, is we want to be very clear if we can do that, what it is we are approving to be cleared and mowed.
Is this something that, is this something we should be asking Brian to get involved in a little bit, going up in the field? Or is that something you want to do in the field, or what's the best way
I think
to?
if we define it very clearly, like a 24-inch path that can only be cleared by a weed whacker.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Right, that, you know, that is something, I think if we get very specific and not remove any trees in the process.
That's exactly where I was kind of leaning with it, Sean, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. Clear out where they want, but as long as it's on just a weed whacker type thing, no woody material, no trees, you know, no even small trees coming down.
And this would be for a path within the site?
To do the site visit, because as you discussed, it's
Okay.
all overgrown, there are ticks and other things out there, so the idea was to clear a path to walk through, so we don't have to go through the high brush, which I think makes sense, but we just want to be very clear what it is we're allowing to be cleared, you know, for that purpose, and I think we've been very upfront about, you know, about doing this, you know,
Yeah.
or not doing it, but,
We definitely want the board's blessing before we go out there and clear anything. We're not looking to do more work than is necessary either. So it's the board's decision as far as what you would like us to do. I know that we'll have somebody out there to do the work as soon as possible, but you just have to let us know what the restrictions are on that work.
Why don't, I would be happy if Sean and Jim would put their heads together with you and act on behalf of the board to come up with that.
Not do the work, though, right?
Well, if you're
Everybody
willing.
hate weed whacking.
I'm not sure I want you to
You're
do
such a
that, but,
volunteer.
well, you both seem to have a sense of it, and if you put
Right.
your heads together and talk to Sean, I think it would also be good if we can time this in such a way that, you know, oftentimes in the past, we have invited neighbors to projects like this when they can be accessible as well, so let's work toward that.
So maybe if it's not too much work, you could submit to Gretchen, just kind of a map outline, a dotted line or something of where you'd like it to go, maybe even overlaid on this,
Okay.
map, just so we can see roughly where we would be looking. And then obviously we want to see things staked out, obviously when we're out there,
Yeah,
staying.
it's state.
It is staked already, yeah.
Yeah.
But if you do that, we can just take a look at it, and then I think just come to agreement whether it's a weed whacker, brush hog, whatever we think makes sense.
Yeah.
Just to take down that little brush and nothing else. But I think we're all on the same page with that, so.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to continue this to next month,
Very good.
and
Is there a way to see a potential plan in 2 weeks? I mean, would it be possible for us, I guess we're months away from, I'm just thinking site visit, because
We could
we're
probably
in
get that.
September pretty quickly, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if it takes weeks to usually get a site visit, especially for involving neighbors in the sport. Is there something that you can quickly turn a dialogue so we could, I guess, next meeting potentially talk about a site visit, or?
Sure.
Is it not really, I'm also doubling up on that meeting at this point, so.
I mean, for the limited purposes of just discussing the site visit, for the next meeting and putting
Never
together.
mind, it really is not
How
gonna change
many,
anything.
how many, I know it's hard to project, but
Sure.
do you see another couple of monthly meetings ahead on this to get all your information together? And
There may be a couple, but I would like to limit it to that, hopefully. But I think that if we could keep this on a short leash for the next meeting this month, just that for limited purposes of me getting the team on board to put out a little sketch of what we're proposing to clear for the purposes of the site visit, and then being able to schedule the site visit at the next meeting, that might be very useful in moving things along.
I mean, we don't have to have a meeting to discuss, we can just move forward with it, and start trying to schedule it as a tour.
Well, exactly.
I mean, I'm just thinking, if you just provide us with kind of a route, we can just take a real quick look and be like, okay, makes sense to us,
Sure.
sign
We
off
can-
on
we
it.
didn't know
and
the
then
site
it's-
visit.
We
that's just
can
a matter of
take it up
coordination.
as business at the next meeting
Okay.
to schedule the site visit without it actually being a full-blown public hearing,
Good.
correct?
I think we can just schedule the site.
Huh?
I think we can just schedule it, I can send out a,
Yeah.
get some
Well,
dates.
that's
from you.
true, okay.
Okay.
I don't really,
It doesn't have to
like I'm
be
saying, I don't think we
100%,
have to do anything
but-
formal in
No, it
2
doesn't
weeks, I
have
think
to
we can
be.
just.
And we can also notify.
We can notify, we can notice neighbors,
Yeah.
if we schedule it, as to when we've scheduled it, and
All
then
right.
we'll take it from there. So
Let's
let's
just do that.
Okay.
let's
So
not
we'll
make
move
it an
forward.
official part of the meeting, let's just, you guys talk and get us some possible dates.
Some
Excellent.
and some dates, and we'll try and make it.
That sounds good to
No
me.
rain, no heat, okay?
Yeah.
And no ticks,
And no removal of trees.
and no removal.
No.
Okay.
All right, then, I'm ready to entertain a motion to continue the public hearing to 9/2.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you, Sean.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
You too. We have 3 ZBA referrals. I'll turn the agenda to run us through them. Actually, while he's doing that, he's pulling those up, let me just do the wildflower announcement, and that is that we believe at this point, correct me if I'm wrong, that Wildflower has received everything they need from DOT. They, in our schedule, are due to be here on the 16th? 18th, the 18th. So I believe we're at the point, unless you all have other questions or concerns to be raised about that they have finally gotten through everything they need to, for us to be looking at an approval resolution at that next meeting.
Yeah, I saw that new shit at the grocery store like, about a week ago, and she was all excited. Did you see that we got it? And I said, no, I haven't seen it yet, so.
Well, it was, there was a lot to do in regards to that, so I don't even think we all appreciated. I certainly wouldn't appreciate how long the DOT review would be and how many steps, but in retrospect, you know, considering that this is going to be a special place for young kids, I'm very satisfied that we stuck with this to ensure the highest level of safety. It's just an important part of what we do. Not only does it have to be legal, but in this case, in all cases, it has to be safe. Okay.
All right, so first one up is an application by Justin and Andrea Tobin. These are again ZBA referrals. They've applied for a variance to legalize an existing 10 by 16 shed that's closer to the street than the existing residence. It's, the residence is set back from the road 423 feet. The variance is to permit the shed to remain 68 feet 2 inches in front of the residence. So the shed is located kind of over here. It's doesn't show much, it's too dark. So if we the shed's over here, and it's a little dark to see. That's the shed. And that's a view of it looking from the middle of the property. There it goes. The view from the road, the shed is kind of over here on this picture, in this image. And first of all, sorry, flip it back around. In this image from the road. It's right here. I'm not gonna try to zoom in again. It's gonna try.
Okay.
This is the shed up here, at the top of the hill, behind the wall.
And it's on what road?
This is on,
Way Road.
Way Road.
Okay.
This is Way Road here. If you want, I can bring up the parcel access.
No, I know, yeah.
So this is the one view looking at it back here, kind of across the grass. This is one view, and the other one's from the corner here looking up. So it's existing, it's in front of the existing house. It is several hundred feet from the road, but it is visible from the streets at the top of the hill behind a large lawn. Defer to the board whether or not you would like to say that it's up to the ZBA to review this input of neighbors, or if you have some concerns regarding the installed shed.
It looks like it's pretty well screened. Kind of hard to see in the various scenes that you've shown.
Yeah, the picture's a little
I
dark.
come over there quite a bit, I've never even noticed that.
Yeah, it's
I
well,
noticed the house,
it's right in here.
sounds like redone. Used to be a big stucco structure.
Yeah, I think it's up to the ZBA.
Yeah, I agree with
It's
that.
not, it doesn't involve a protected view shed or a scenic road or
Not on Way Road, no.
historic property or
No.
anything
And
like
because it's installed at this point, it's not a question of going, it's just a question that's already there.
that. The Matthews property, Mountain View historic building across the street, but I don't think it's directly across the street. There's the other one that's the bracketed house with the pyramidal roof.
I'll bring this up because I'm not sure.
In either case, I can't imagine that the presence of this shed would have any adverse impact on.
So this is the property here, and the shed's, I think it's up inside this little area, here it's showing the aerial. And this, Craig, I think is Victor, is the Matthews property across the street.
Yeah.
This one, it's not, yeah, so it's this big one here. Talking about this parcel.
Okay.
So Ed, it's an issue for the zoning board to address?
Yes.
Okay, so we will send that back. Finding the request raises no significant planning or environmental concerns and recommend that they rely on their own study of the facts and input of the neighbors. Okay, thank you. That's
Motion?
one.
Motion?
Yeah.
Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, the next one is an application by Ferncliff and Arch Care. This is down off of River Road, timely signs. I did actually drive down there today to take a look. These signs are already installed. So if you remember, many of you remember, actually I think all of you remember, we reviewed the sign out at the street, which is not any of these. But apparently when they put in the sign at the street, that there was a belief that was, they only needed the approval for the sign at the street. So as you drive down the road, as I was driving in, I think there were 3 of these on the drive on the way in before you make a left at Arch Care. When you get to make that left-hand turn to Arch Care, this sign is located at the road, is the entrance drive into the building itself. And then when you get to the building, if you're facing, looking right at it, this is right in front of you. So you can either go left or right to the parking lots. This sign is there already showing you which direction you can go. And then they have these resident pickup drop-off signs and ambulance parking only signs located in front of some of the parking spaces and pull-up spaces kind of in the loop in the building. So they're all existing already, as well as this over the main entryway going into the building. So they are applying for a sign permit to permit 11 signs. The aggregate is 59.89 square feet. That's more than the single 8 square foot sign that is permitted by code in a residential zoning district. The applicant has noted that due to the nature of the business and the location, more signage is required. 9 of the signs are parking or traffic related. Well, 1 is the freestanding directional sign, another is the awning sign. The applicant received the variance for 11.12 square feet for the 19.12 square foot identity sign at River Road, which we did review in the past, if you remember. That's the main entrance sign at River Road. Again, it's a residential district, and you've heard me before about this. I'm pretty hesitant to recommend lots of signage and lots of overage in signage, but this is a pretty unique structure, pretty unique location. It is already installed. The directional signage to me seems like it might be useful now in terms of this sign to get into Arch Care. But now that we've approved changes to T-Court, there's only one way in and out. So there's no real question of where the building is and how to get there. There's only one way in and out of the Arch Care facility once those changes are made to the adjacent property. So, you know, I think a lot of this, you know, this sign, I was just gonna say, if it was proposed, I was gonna say, I think you can get rid of all of this and just have main parking deliveries. Again, it's already installed, so I don't know there's a whole lot we can do unless you have issues with them. The Arch Care sign is already here. This actually wraps around three of the sides of the red. So, you know, I defer to the board in terms of what you want to do. As a
Miss the
recommendation.
main entrance. Remember, I can't miss the main entrance.
And I think the 5, please drive slowly signs, a little excessive.
Is the nursery school open?
I drove in and their play area is open outside, so I don't know if they're open or not, but it's installed. I don't see anything else to say whether there were kids there or
Because
not.
there's no signage for that.
Not for their use, no.
From Bumblebee.
Hmm?
Honeybee, yeah.
Honeybee.
Honeybee, yeah.
I think the zoning board should use great care in evaluating. I think I'm getting the sense from what we're saying that it feels a little excessive and that they should look to make sure that they're keeping the signs at a minimum as to what's absolutely required. And I think the point should go in there about this change to T-Court, which is specifically now limits anybody to go in that direction, which the zoning board probably should know, but may not know.
Yeah, given that they are so far in excess of the maximum of what's allowed, I think they should economize wherever possible. And I think there are a lot of possibilities for economizing. But is this one of those things where we would say, leave it to the ZBA to have their own study of the facts, or do we?
I think, given what was just noted, I originally put it there, but I think it might fall more under, if you do find requested work raises concerns related to the variances being requested and that it feels excessive, especially the drive slowly signs, which you noted, and I agree, there's like every 100 feet.
And that other one with all the fine print on top is almost silly.
I agree. We're noting the change to T-Court will limit access and the need for the directional signage. And I agree with you, if this had been proposed, I would have said this should all go. It's just the main parking deliveries and anything needed, but it does exist, so if you're recommending a change to the sign, then it would be changing that existing sign. But you're certainly welcome to make that recommendation if that's what you want.
Now, besides the honeybee, are there other concerns there that are separate and apart from Arch Care, or?
As I recall, all the deliveries, because we talked about this extensively when we were looking at the nursery school, because we were concerned about the traffic. You know, any deliveries or, you know, I assume laundry facilities, anything like that, has to swing around that way. So that's the only other impact that I recall.
Yeah.
I do recall it was confusing when I went in there. I didn't really know where to park. But it's also the kind of situation that if you go there, if you have family members there, after a while, you get kind of comfortable with knowing where you're supposed to go. It's not, it's a destination for people, you know, that go there regularly, and I think, I just think that even the whole big sign over the door is, to me, like, come on, I know I'm here.
The building is the sign.
It's, yeah.
So you've got the main entrance sign here at the corner, as you know, and this is now the drive that isn't really the main drive, but this will be closed off, so people won't be able to use this. This will be going in and out.
Yeah.
So you've got the main sign here that we've reviewed before, then you have a drive slowly sign about there, you got another one there, and I think there's a third one here. Then you've got the Arch Care sign here, kind of telling you to come in. This is where that sign is at, and it has all the text on it right here at the entrance. And then you've got a bunch of them kind of up around here as well as the canopy.
It really is too much.
And so recommend, it seems excessive, especially the drive slowly signs, the change of T-Court will limit the access and need for directional signage, and take that under consideration.
I mean, of course we want people to drive slowly, but they aren't
I don't think they need to be told 5 times.
Well, and I was also going to say, it's not a neighborhood where you have a lot of people out taking walks and things that you have to be concerned about. I mean, it's the speed really, isn't it, that we're
Yeah.
concerned with. I just think, that there's just this sense that it's too much and perhaps the whole thing needs to be rethought.
Agreed.
No. Rethunk.
It's such a resonance to it, doesn't it?
So I want to just take a,
May I have a motion? Yes.
So moved.
Second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And now the sign change for Bathurst.
correct. So if everyone remembers, wasn't that long ago, we took a look at the sign for the equipment rental facility. It's equipment sales and rental on 308, just past Route 9. This is the existing sign, and we talked back then and submitted a referral back to the ZBA. The sign that was proposed before was more attractive than what had existed on the site previously. The work raised no concerns related to variances being requested, but we did talk about the LED lighting in the referral, which obviously came out. I think we had heard about that. Ensuring that any other signs on the site, if there was any, was accounted for in the overall calculation, and confirming the lettering on the sign is consistent with the zoning code regulations. The new sign that's proposed now is red, yellow, and black. And if you give me 1 second, I will pull up another piece of information. The old one that was proposed, and it's in the memo, was essentially a kind of a dark brown, blackish sign with one color lettering on it. I'm just gonna try to bring it up.
Is there a change of use there? Like, I feel like.
It's changed from the sign previous, and I'll bring it up, said equipment rental and sales Inc.
Yeah.
To now it says Decker,
And then the rental place.
sales, and then has the phone number on the bottom here. And I personally believe that's too much on the sign.
Feels like it's
particularly
two
in residential areas.
businesses, which is why I'm wondering if there's a change of use.
Franchise, so the sign has to be specific.
So it's like a 60/40 or whatever, however the.
So it's like a
So it's like
Subaru
leasing
sign
it
or a
now.
Ford sign or something.
Yeah, okay.
Where is this franchise?
It's cat rentals.
So you needed to find out who owns the franchise and then the franchise name, is that?
I guess it's, I'm assuming
Back
that's
when
what
I
it
brought
is,
it,
but
so
yeah.
it was like a
It's gotta be a
70/30 split,
specific,
yeah.
they have a
So what
design.
if we say we don't like the sign?
I think we could request like the Decker maybe area to have the same yellow or whatever. I think the Caterpillar is gonna be really, Cat is gonna be very specific about their colors. Because it's a national brand, I think where we might have some flexibility is making it all, like a Decker maybe black or yellow to match the rest of it.
And are you assuming that what the franchise requires is just the sign itself? And do we have some flexibility around the posts and that, or?
Usually they have a very specific language on the split. So like when I had Verizon services, like they had to be 60 or 70% who owned it, and then 30% the brand. But then you had to follow different colors also, which was a challenge when I was in village board back in the day, was they didn't like the red and Verizon, and I was like, I can't change that.
Okay.
So,
What does it say on the far right? The rental what?
store,
Store. That's pretty hard to read.
So what would be wrong with taking their previous proposal and sticking it with these posts?
So the
That,
post.
that looks to me much more, it's a residential area. It looks more like, something you find in a residential area versus this you find in an industrial area.
so what she was just saying is because it's a franchise, they have requirements on a sign by the franchise brand.
Well, they have a lot of different equipment there besides Caterpillar too.
I'm not.
You know?
I don't know, I think that may have changed. It seems like this is a different application, the same
Well, what we could do is identify, because this is a referral to the zoning board, right? So we could be identifying things that we think could use improvements, and let them deal with what they can or can't do. I mean, I agree with Tom that, you know, the one in the middle looks a little more attractive, a little more in keeping with a residential property as opposed to something that is very commercial and cut and dry. You may not be able to mess with the interior, but I think you can. That's what I was trying to get at. Can we at least make the posts look better? Can we make the whole thing look a little more?
Posts aren't permitted. The posts are plastic. We run into this all the time, so they're not permitted as proposed.
So, but we could say, you know, we like the support structure
Of the second.
of the one in the middle.
Yep.
We find that more in keeping with the neighborhood and with the fact that it's a residential area. And we would encourage the zoning board to, you know, look favorably on that detail.
Well, I'm looking more at the signs itself. I mean,
I think a single, like, without.
I mean, we constantly talk about 9G being the gateway to Rhinebeck. And this gets probably more traffic coming from Taconic into Rhinebeck than comes from the north, that we're just concerned about with the hotel being on. So why are we saying, well, you have a franchise, you can do what you want, whereas you could have something that's more pleasant? I mean, we've been had these discussions.
Just when you sign a contract with a franchise, like you sign a contract with the devil, but like if you put a sign up, this is how the sign has to appear, and there's like end of discussion. I'm just saying that's not the right.
It isn't, because go to Aspen, you won't find an arch on a McDonald's. You won't find a McDonald's sign on McDonald's. Towns have zoning, and a lot of places have a lot stricter zoning than we have, and they have franchises.
Well, we're just making a
Yeah.
referral.
Yeah,
We
okay.
can say to the zoning board of appeals that we just don't find that this is compatible. And they're gonna be the ones that are gonna have to do the balancing
Yeah.
test. I have no problem saying this looks too industrial, we don't like franchise signs, we like them to be more compatible with the design standards for Rhinebeck, and we have design standards for Rhinebeck, and we should reference the design standards.
I agree
and ask
100%.
the zoning board of appeals to look to the design standards to see how they can manage this. And they're the ones that have to look at that legal issue that you're raising. We're not, we don't have that authority.
Okay.
But
I
they
think
do.
toning down the colors is really what we're asking for. Would that be an accurate statement? Toning down of the colors.
Well, yeah, I
Is it
mean,
green sign or brown sign, whatever
you
that is?
look at the green and white sign in it. It's very similar to the Rhinebeck Equestrian
Yes, I
Hospital.
think some of it is even the choice of the font in
Yeah.
equipment, which is a softer and more pleasing font than the starkness of the one on the right. But
I would also suggest, unless the board doesn't agree, to not have a phone number on the sign. I don't think that that's a great idea. I think it starts a precedent, but that's obviously your call.
Yeah, I agree.
I
You can't
agree.
read it anyway, you know, as you're driving.
well, if you have to slow down to write it down as you're going by, you're in trouble.
Yeah,
You
on
know, I
9G.
mean, you gotta just, everybody's gonna be on their phone looking up cat dealerships and they'll know where it is. So I think we can also be very comfortable saying we think that is superfluous. I don't drive around looking for.
Other than that, we love it.
Do you like the plantings? Look at people with plantings the same. It certainly is an improvement over the thing on the left. Yeah. All right, so I may have a motion to that effect.
Send it to ZBA, yes, I'll make the motion.
Okay, second? All those in favor?
Right.
I believe that there's nothing on the back side of my paper here, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
So
motion second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.